Hello and welcome to Something Z, and welcome back to What If Deku had a Shadow Teleportation Quirk Part 3. Last time there was a scare through UA, but they found out it was just reporters that broke into UA, and Midori is stage class president of Class 1A. So let's get into the what if. So we skip to the next day and it's time for a trip to the USJ. When they get there, they are greeted by the Pro Hero 13. Hello students, and welcome to the USJ. Here you will learn or start to learn how to use your quirk in a life-saving emergency, because your quirks could be deadly and cause harm to other people. And when she was in the middle of speaking, a mysterious portal opens up that kind of looks like Midoriya's quirk. Aizawa quickly looks at Midoriya. Then a stampede of villains comes out, which seems like it has no end to it. But then eventually, at the end of the line, there was a person that had dark energy surrounding their body that made it so that you couldn't see their body or face. And next to him, there was a guy with hands on his outfit and had messy bluish gray hair. When all the villains came out of the portal, Aizawa jumped over the stairs towards the villains and started to erase their quirks and beat them up one by one. Class President, make portals here and outside so we can evacuate. When Midoriya created two portals, one next to him and right outside, the only ones that made it out were Shoji, Sato, and Koda. But when Shoji went through the portal, the shadow guy noticed and flew at the class, making it so Koda barely made it. When Kurogiri made it in front of him, he noticed that there was one student who seemed more tired than the rest of them, and then he put it together knowing that Izuku's quirk is some sort of teleportation quirk. It seems he's not here. He was scheduled to be here. Right after he said that, Bakugo and Kirishima launched themselves at the villain, which do nothing besides making the villain back away a bit. Then he starts to surround the class, putting them in the exact same places like in the canon. So Midoriya is underwater when someone who looks like Shark Quirk was about to bite him, when Sue landed on the villain's head, then grabbed Zuko and then pulled him onto a nearby, landed on the villain's head, then grabbed Zuko, then pulled him onto a nearby ship. A minute later, she comes back from scouting the area for any nearby classmates, but she found no one else around. Back at the entrance of the USJ, the class tries to find a way out, and 13 tries to suck up the villain using her quirk, but she gets sucked up instead, knocking herself out. But on the outside of the USJ, Koda sent out a flock of pigeons with a note on their leg to try and tell the teacher they are being attacked. So we jump back to Izuku and Sue, and they told each other their quirks, and to test something out, Izuku put a portal in front of a villain, but all the villains around it seem to want to avoid it at all costs. It seems like they don't actually know what our quirks are. If they did, they would have put you in like a fire location instead of a place filled with water. Okay, I think I have a plan. So Izuku makes a portal at the bottom of the lake, then creates one above him, making a sort of hole where all the water rushes to the bottom. When they fall for about 5 times, he closes the portal and creates one next to Asui. He grabs onto one of her arms as she jumps as hard as she can into the portal, launching them around 30 feet away. When they lose momentum, Izuku creates a portal and another 20 feet away until they get to land. So they're at the plaza and they try and have a conversation. What is that bird looking thing? What does they even want?
Well, they said he wasn't here, so maybe they were talking about All Might.
How do you think they can kill All Might? They were about to continue their conversation, but they see Eraserhead getting his head pounded onto the ground by the bird-looking monster. Eraserhead, you may be strong, but you're not in your element. How about you take a rest, and we do the rest of the work? Now we jump back to the entrance of the USJ, and they are doing their best to hold off the shadow villain and to let Ida escape, so he can escape, but most likely they can't hold out for too much longer. So we jump back to the plaza where Aizawa is being held down by the Nomu, and Kurogiri tells the guy with hands that they let one escape and they're getting help. Izuku and Asui can't exactly hear what they're saying, but after the shadow villain appears, the hand villain seems to get very angry, like a spoiled brat. Then they see the hand-looking villain look at them, and then he rushes at Asui, almost using his decay quirk on her. But Izuku creates a portal so his hand didn't touch her, and Aizawa is out cold. Izuku, now drained of a lot of stamina, tries to punch the villain, but his fist gets blocked by the body of a monster, which seems to have no effect. And when the hand guy goes for another hit with his quirk, but every time his hands get close to Izuku or Asui, Izuku creates a portal to make it hit the ground. And it's to the point now where there's a decent sized hole on the ground from all the hits the hand guy was throwing at them. When eventually Shigaraki got one hit on the back of Izuku's forearm, which causes him to get rid of some of the skin in the area, which makes Izuku scream in pain. And in that moment, the front door of the USJ busts open. And when the class and everyone looks to see what happened, they see All Might walk in, taking off his coat, and he's mad. He rushes over to the plaza to get Razorhead, and he sees the two students fighting the villain, and he hurries and grabs them and brings them away from the villain. He tells them to get Razorhead to safety. They listen to All Might, and at the very end of the trip, Izuku makes a portal and takes Izawa through it, so everyone can watch over him. Izuku then jumps from the stairs and creates portal after portal to get back to the plaza as quickly as possible. And when he gets back to the plaza, Bakugo, Todoroki, and Kirishima are there, and Bakugo and Kirishima are holding now the shadow villain, and Todoroki has ice covering the monster's right leg, while All Might is holding it in a suplex. Good try, students, but let me give you a reality check. Nomu, get Kurogiri. Then the monster named Nomu breaks free from the ice that was covering its leg, and the Nomu's leg was injured, but after a second of it being damaged, the Nomu heals himself and rushes at Bakugo. Before Izuku can make a portal, Bakugo was behind him. Wow, Kachan, how did you do that so fast? I didn't, Deku. He then points at All Might, and he is standing where he was a second ago. Wow, good job, All Might. I have a question for you. Why is it when people like me fight people, it's considered wrong in the eyes of the world? But when people like you beat up people, how is that okay? It's because we aren't like you. We fight to protect people. You fight to cause harm to people because you want to. Then All Might clenches his fist, and he and the Nomu charge at each other, clashing midway. And then they started punching each other over and over again, with All Might knowing that it has shock absorption, but not nullification. And with every punch, there are shock waves that can be felt from far away. Remember these words: go beyond, plus ultra. And with one strong punch, All Might launches the Nomus through the roof of the USJ. Whoever you are, you're finished. I defeated your Nomu. How dare you? You cheated. And we are the League of Villains, and we shouldn't be taken lightly. You hear me, All Might? Then why don't you come at me, if I shouldn't take you lightly? Sir, he seems heavily weakened. If we go for him now, we could still kill him still. Then Shigaraki and Kurogiri charge at All Might while he's still immobilized from him using too much of his power. And when Izuku sees that All Might isn't moving, he rushes at the villains using his portal to slow them down. And he was about to hit Shigaraki in the face, but Kurogiri creates a portal, and Shigaraki's hand almost hits Izuku's face. But Izuku creates a portal in front of the hand, and making him hit Kurogiri's armor, making his neck brace decay and breaking it. And before anything else could happen, the door busts open, and they see Ida with the other teachers of UA, and the three that left earlier. And they were able to meet up with Ida on the way to the school. Then the teacher sniped and shot Shigaraki in non-deadly places, and Kurogiri used his quirk to block the attack and eventually was able to teleport away with Shigaraki. But before he fully left, they heard, "You haven't seen the last of us, All Might. We will just need to level up a bit." And he left. And after he left, Izuku was drained from using his quirks so many times in such a short time, and he needed to be propped up by Bakugo, who helped him walk for a bit until Izuku was able to walk a bit. And then he was taken to Recovery Girl to be treated for the injury Shigaraki got on him, which from the lack of stamina made it into a large scab. He is able to be healed if it's given about 1 to 2 days to heal with her. When he wakes up and gets ready to go home, he sees Hiraka and Ida at the front gate waiting for him to go home. And they talk about their time during the USJ attack, and then they go home for the night. But the next day at school, the class is wondering who was going to teach them that day, since Aizawa was badly injured during the attack. And when they hear the door open, they see a heavily bandaged Aizawa. Okay, class, it's time for class. Aizawa, should you really be teaching? Fine, now it's time. The class wondered for a second, thinking it's about the USJ and more villains he needs to stop. It's time for the UA Sports Fest, and that's where I'm going to leave it off. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time on Something Z.